Hello my friends, and welcome back to another travel guide from Tales from the Road. Today I'm in Marrakesh. I've actually been in Marrakesh for about 2 months, and I'm feeling really ready to make a really good travel guide. I'm here in the center part of the city. I've got the famous mosque behind me, the Koutoubia, and today I'm gonna tell you everything you need to know before you go. We're gonna talk about all the practical information. We're gonna check out Marrakesh. I don't wanna spoil it for you. I just wanna give you the right information so that you can come here, have an excellent time, not get scammed, and enjoy Morocco the right way. If that sounds good, let's get Moroccan. As we always do with these videos, let's talk a little historical and geographic location so we can get to know Marrakesh a little bit better before we go. So I think this is about as good a place as any to start a story about Marrakesh. Right under its city monument, the thing that defines the city is the Koutoubia Mosque and its very large tower that sits strongly in the center of the city. As a traveler, there's a couple things you need to know. Marrakesh is a really old city, and it's a capital city, and it's one of the imperial cities of Morocco and Moroccan society. Marrakesh itself in the country is located on the gateway to the Sahara Desert and basically to the Atlantic coast. So this was a stopping point historically from traders coming from the Sahara Desert and sub-Saharan Africa, bringing goods up to the north to be then exported by the Moroccans, the Roman Empire, whoever was here at that time. Many people have been through Morocco. Connecting people through the Atlantic coast and of course the Mediterranean coast to the north, as well as greater northern Africa. Marrakesh has been an imperial city for a long time. This mosque is from 1187, and it was rebuilt once as there was something here before that. That means this city has had an important place in Moroccan society for almost 1,000 years. The last important note, and this is something I really discovered on this trip to Marrakesh, is that Marrakesh is where the Moroccan society blends. You've got the Arab influence, which came in from Saudi Arabia and the Arab conquests of nearly 1,000 years ago. You've got the Berber and Amazigh communities to the south, the Jewish Moroccans who were here before they left in the 1970s, and everyone else who's been here in the meantime, as it was a trading hub and still is a trading hub. And now it's a tourist hub with thousands, if not millions, of tourists coming to see the gem of Morocco. A place with a lot of vibe, a place with a lot of stuff going on, and a place where you can get in trouble if you're not careful. So now we are going to head to Jemaa el Fnaa, also known as the ruined mosque, as there was supposed to be another mosque catty corner over here in the center from the Koutoubia. And I'm gonna tell you all the practical information you need to know before you take a trip to Marrakesh. Transportation. I think there's no better place to explain the transportation than standing at a busy intersection, because you can see it all. Number one, you can get around Morocco by bus. These are called the Alsa buses, and they go up and down. You can take them for about 2 dirham, which is about 20 cents. They're very busy, they're very local. Number two is you can take these yellow taxis. The taxis, you have to be smart, because the taxis are always gonna rip you off, and you need to make sure that you're firm on your price. So if it seems too high, it probably is. Getting around through Marrakesh, I typically never pay more than 40 dirham, which is about $4 or €3.40. If you have more people, they might try to charge you more, but feel free to negotiate, because these guys, they're tough. They're tough and they're aggressive. What I normally do is I actually use an app called InDrive. You can open it, and it's basically like the Moroccan version of Uber. Uber doesn't work here, but InDrive is actually pretty good. But the funniest part about InDrive is that you actually have to barter. So you just basically do this. You have a number that it gives you, a recommended fare, and then you can find a driver. And then drivers will compete with your bid. You can do, you can raise the bid if you want, you can lower the bid, and then people are going to offer, like this guy, potential ride. So he says 32, my original bid was 29. It's pretty funny. The one thing to note about InDrive is it's actually in a super weird gray area. It's not necessarily illegal, but it is definitely not legal also, because taxis in Marrakesh, they have to pay for their taxi registration. InDrivers don't have to, and there are tons of InDrive drivers. You're gonna find them. But the taxi drivers sometimes like beat these guys, they kick their cars, they try to pop their tires. There's like a feud in the city. And you're just gonna wanna kind of like, if you're gonna get in an InDrive, you have to be outside of the taxi zone. And also the police typically like sort of pester the InDrive drivers because they're sort of breaking the rules of the city, but they're not breaking the rules of the country. So if there's a police officer, your InDrive person's not gonna wanna pick you up. So look for police, look for taxis, and you can take InDrive. It is really annoying, but you're gonna get a normal price versus the taxis where, I don't know, it's like it can be very scammy if you're not careful. People often freak out about crossing the street here in Marrakesh because you have guys on horses, you've got people on motorbikes, you've got other people driving cars. You just have to be aggressive. You got to know what you're doing, and then you got to know when to make your move. So this would be a good time to make your move. You can wait. Oftentimes Moroccan drivers will not wait for you, but you just have to sort of go through. It's like, it's up to you. It's your world. Just be careful. Do the dance with the local Moroccan people. Also, these horse carts, which are very common in Marrakesh, are very expensive, and I would not recommend taking them unless you would really want to ride one of these horses. And now I'm stuck. So now to explain Marrakesh in the best detail, we're gonna walk into Jemaa el Fnaa, which is one of the biggest public squares in all of Africa. You're gonna walk through this horse cart area, and you're gonna get a microcosm of everything good and everything bad in Marrakesh in one place. So I had the unique experience of being here during COVID. And during COVID, this place was sketchy, and this place was weird feeling because there were no tourists, and I didn't realize until this new trip that I'm here that Marrakesh is probably the most touristy city in Morocco, and everything here is built for tourists. You'll feel this in this square in particular as you get crazy business going on all over here, and you get a cross-section of all of these scammy things that can happen basically in the tourist center of Morocco. So in this very lively square, you've got a couple things going on. Number one, you've got these snake charming guys who have cobras and other big African or imported snakes. The second you touch a snake, they're gonna group around you and try to get as much money out of you as possible. They're gonna ask for 100 dirham, which is about 10 US dollars. Don't give them 100 dirham and don't be intimidated. Also, just don't go up to the stakes.
Bro, I'm sorry for interrupting.
Number two, you're gonna see guys with monkeys from the Atlas Mountains. They used to be imported, apparently. The monkey guys, they're friendly. They won't put the monkeys on you necessarily, but also it's probably not good to support the taking of monkeys from the Atlas Mountains and exploiting them for tourist stuff in the center here, so maybe don't interact with the monkey guys either. Number three, you're gonna have ladies selling henna. Henna is that like sort of tattoo that removes after like a couple weeks. And you're not gonna wanna get henna in the center. Please don't do it. There's a lot of reports of them mixing the henna with just like sketchy ingredients, but specifically gasoline, and tourists have actually gotten chemical burns from the henna in the center. If you wanna get henna, totally fine. Just go into the Medina and go find a normal person. The ladies in the center here, don't do it. Also, again, very expensive. Everything happening in here is kind of scammy, except the food. There's two things. There's stalls for food, super local. You're gonna find tons of locals eating there. Super legit. I've eaten there plenty of times. The food is very good. Number two, you're also gonna find fruit and juice stalls. The fruit and juice stalls are actually really nice. The juice is super tasty. You can get a mixed one for about 20 dirham, which is about $2. Super good deal. Haven't gotten sick from it. Would definitely recommend it. The guys will sort of call you over. It's okay, go over, grab a juice for sure. At night, this place definitely changes a little bit. Some women also find it uncomfortable, although me being a man, I've never necessarily felt this. You're gonna get gnawa players, which is the traditional desert music of Morocco, sort of a trance music, and they're gonna be playing all over the place. You'll see guys like this that are dressed like this. They're gnawa players, and they're often drumming away into the night. If you listen to some gnawa, just toss them some money. It's actually a very cool experience, and I can explain more about gnawa on my Instagram page if you are interested. Also, this whole general area will fill up with the food stalls that I was talking about earlier. Other than that, just make sure when you're walking through this general area of Marrakesh, you're going to want to watch your belongings at all times. Very easy to get pickpocketed in here if you're not careful. People in Morocco are either really, really nice, really friendly, and really helpful, or they are just gonna steal your wallet. So there's really no in between. The majority of people, of course, are really nice and really helpful and really friendly. Also, if you're planning on buying any of the stuff in the center here, just make sure you're ready to barter. Whatever the price they're offering is going to be about, I don't know, half of what it normally should cost, or even 1/3 sometimes, depending on what it is. Any of this stuff, if it's like 100, maybe offer 30 or 40 or something like that. Don't offer too much. All of this stuff in the Jemaa el Fnaa area, I think you can find better quality and better prices if you just go into the Medina a little bit more. and you have no idea what the quality of this stuff is necessarily. All right, now that we're into the Medina, I think this is a good place as any to tell you about the money of Morocco. In Morocco, you're gonna use the Moroccan dirham. And in Morocco, it's trading about 10 dirham to about $1 US. Pretty easy. So if you see 100 dirham, it's gonna be about $10. So the first question is Marrakesh expensive? The simple answer is for the American standard, no, not necessarily. You can buy a lot of different things, all for reasonable prices. You can eat out for about 100 to 150 dirham per person at even the most touristy of restaurants, and that's gonna run you about 15 US. You can buy beautiful desserts, you can buy lots of stuff. Everything in Morocco is affordable. The thing is, as a tourist, are you getting the best price, especially if you're eating in the old Medina center, like here where you see these large menus? Are you getting like a normal or good price? Depends on the place. Like here, you can see you can get a pizza or a sandwich or a taco for like less than 40 dirham. You can get a juice for probably like 20, so that's $4, $2, something like that. The thing is, and what I will say is that for Moroccans, Marrakesh is really, really expensive. The average salary here is not very high. And a lot of like local Moroccans like will not eat down here unless it's normal, unless it's a normal place or a local place, especially if they're eating anything that's like a normal tagine.
House.
Yeah, it's nice.
Kitchen family. House.
Family kitchen. Okay, thank you, thank you. So you won't see Moroccans eating down here necessarily, especially locals. You might see tourist Moroccans because tourist Moroccans typically have more money, but local people, they're eating at home or they're eating at the very local places where the workers eat. Because everything else is completely unaffordable. You can think of Marrakesh having as a bit of a dual economy. There's the rich Moroccans and the tourists, that's one. And then there's the workers and the local people, like this guy on the donkey. He's probably making less than $300, maybe $400 a month. Probably, honestly, less than that. So he's not eating out at any of these places. He's not able to access a lot of the stuff here that foreigners would be able to access, unfortunately. So, this happens in a lot of what we would call developing nations. There are the people who have, the Moroccans who have family abroad. A lot of there's almost 900,000 Moroccans in Europe, maybe even more. And since that's the case, a lot of people have money coming from the outside. There's of course a lot of tourism. There's hammams you can go to. There's guest houses, there's hotels, there's all that stuff. And then there's a lot of the local people who have access basically to none of it, and almost interact with none of it as well, which is secondarily interesting. These shops are of course all owned by locals, but it's not necessarily obvious as to if they're actually buying any of this stuff, like all of this stuff. The whole city itself is full of tourist stuff that locals aren't necessarily buying or interacting with in any sort of significant way. Honestly, for a tourist and someone who's never been to the developing world, this could be probably a bit overwhelming, places like this. If you find this overwhelming, then don't get your hotel in the old city center. Get your hotel on the new side where I'm living. It's called Geliz. It has more modern services and it's just a more modern part of an otherwise very ancient city. If you want to have a really local experience, feel free to, of course, stay in this area, stay in a guest house or a riad. That's going to be definitely a good choice. Eat where the locals eat, maybe something like this. Or don't do any of that. Go to the touristy locations, go to the places that make you feel comfortable, because traveling like this is definitely not for everybody. A last note about the Medina. The Medina is for shopping. The Medina is for seeing local life. But a funny part is if you actually go just like down a street that is not so touristy, you're gonna find a really nice swath of the local life of Marrakesh. People buying and selling things, people selling fresh vegetables, you know, people going shopping for daily needs, as well as other tourist stuff, of course, in general. But you can find small shops, of course, selling local products and the things that local people actually buy. So if you want to find that here in Marrakesh, even though it's easily the most touristy place in Morocco, you definitely are able to find that stuff. So just be a little bit adventurous and get out into the real streets. I want to show you traditional Moroccan pottery, and I just bought some cups from this guy, and he's going to let me film. So the traditional cooking method in Morocco is the tagine, and the tagine is something you cook over low to medium heat. You put in lots of traditional things, sometimes chicken, sometimes beef. Chicken with some preserved lemons is the most popular, and then beef with prunes, also very popular. So these are tagines, these are made for cooking. There's also presentation tagines that you can buy that are like this. You can't cook in these because of the way they're done. And then here in Morocco, they also have these tangia. Right? The traditional food of Marrakesh is called tangia, and they put in meat with saffron and some stock, and then they cover this top and they put it over coals and they pour it out. We're gonna see if we can find some, but these are the traditional clay pots and they're all pretty reasonably priced. I just bought 2 things for $4. Yeah. Wait, shukran. So now on to my favorite section, which is food. And I'm high up above Marrakesh, but actually we're gonna come back in the evening because I think the food is a lot cooler in the evening, in the center. So, see you in a sec. So now nighttime has fallen upon Marrakesh, and this is when the city really comes alive. The square fills up with both tourists and locals alike. People searching for food, searching for entertainment, coming to listen to the music, to walk around, to shop. It's really a magical place as far as Morocco is concerned. But this is the food section, so let's head into the tents and see what they've got. So first up, something that'll catch your eye are these snail vendors. Snails in Darija are something called babouche, or babouche. It's a snail soup flavored with an aromatic mix of spices like anise, thyme, and licorice. It's definitely something worth trying, although snails are definitely not for everybody. Next up, you can go over to the juice guy, and he's gonna make you a really delicious mixed juice with local Moroccan fruits. The juice is super tasty, very sweet, and only about $1, so why not just get it? Now that we've seen a couple snacks, let's head into the center of the market to see what they're really cooking here. When you enter the market, there's gonna be a lot of guys with menus trying to pull you onto their stand. There's probably like 100 stands serving kind of similar food at all of them. Just pick the one that you feel is best. There's no right or wrong answer, as they're all selling to locals and tourists, and honestly they're all selling sort of the same dish as well. So if you see something that looks good, sit down. These stands sell the staples of Moroccan food. You're gonna find tangia, which is a Marrakesh specialty, a slow-cooked meat dish often with beef or lamb that's cooked in earthenware pots. You're also gonna find tagines, other kebabs or brochettes. Think lots of grilled meats, some salad, some french fries. Lastly, if you're feeling a little adventurous, you can go for one of their roasted goat heads. They pull the meat off the head, maybe the tongue, maybe the brains, and they serve it alongside the tangia that you would order. This is very normal for the locals in Morocco, but maybe for a foreigner, maybe a little on the weird side. Alright, so now we're back at my flat and I'm going to tell you my favorite things to do in Marrakesh. There's lots of stuff to do in this city, really good restaurants, bars, and cafes, new things, old things, and of course really good historical sites. That being said, there's some things that stuck out to me as being super fantastic and that I think you should definitely do when you're in Marrakesh. Your trip is obviously going to start in the center of Marrakesh by Jemaa Fnaa and the Koutoubia. From there, you're going to be able to go into the Medina, and the Medina has tons of amazing things to see, and also it's just an amazing place to walk around and get the true vibe of the city. That being said, there are some landmarks that people like to visit, number one being the Bahia Palace. Super beautiful, ornate, massive, empire-y palace. It is very touristy, and I would say that there are many other things that you can see in the Medina that look just as good. That is definitely less touristy and less expensive, although if you want to do it, it's fantastic. Next to it also are the Saadian tombs and the Badi Palace. The Badi Palace is an older imperial palace that was actually destroyed by the current family that runs Morocco, the ones that built the Bahia Palace. The Badi Palace is okay, it's historic, it's not that interesting for tourism, you don't really need to do it, but it's cool. The Saadian tombs are really cool, really beautiful. It's about $10 to go inside. It's worth it if you have the time. But again, there are many things that look like that in the other parts of the city. So if you want to, you can do it. If you don't want to, it's okay. Next to the Bahia Palace is the Culinary Museum of Marrakesh. If you're not interested in food, it's okay. The Culinary Museum is free. You can walk in, you can see it's actually in an old riad that has been redone beautifully. And on the inside, they have a beautiful tea house, and on the outside, they have a riad, which is the square-shaped courtyard that you find in many Moroccan houses. Beautifully redone, beautiful tiles, nice little nooks to sit in, and very magical. The exact same vibe as the Bahia Palace, but it gets very little tourists for whatever reason. So definitely go into the Culinary Museum next to the Bahia Palace. You will not be disappointed. While you're over there, you can go to the Mela, which is the old Jewish district. There's a couple old synagogues if that's something you're interested in, as the Jewish history of Marrakesh is very old and very interesting. That being said, the Mela is easily the most sketchy place in the entire city for whatever reason. Lots of scammers, lots of weird people doing kind of weird things. It's the only place that I personally felt uncomfortable when I was in Marrakesh, which is unfortunate because I like to see nice synagogues when I travel, but that's sort of the thing. I would say skip the Mellah unless you need to make a pilgrimage to a synagogue or the synagogues really interest you, or go in and go out. Don't talk to anyone while you're in there. Another thing people really like to see in Marrakesh is the Yves Saint Laurent Margerel Garden. It's this really cool kind of artsy garden that was built by Yves Saint Laurent, who's a very famous designer from France who spent a lot of time in Marrakesh. There's also a Berber museum and another museum attached to the gardens that's really worth it. It's pretty expensive. I think it's around $35 US to enter. You also need to go online and book in advance to go into the place. That being said, it is very beautiful. It's very different. If you really want a super Moroccan-y experience, it's definitely not that. It's sort of like high class and sort of fancy, but makes for a really nice time for sure. If you want to do some legit shopping, the Medina of Marrakesh is of course a place you can do this. The Medina has many souks. A souk is another term for a market. They're very long, winding places, and the cool part is that each part of the souk offers different sort of goods. There's the leather market, there's the spice market, there's the market that sells things made out of wood. Each part has its own thing, but the problem is you're gonna have to haggle or bargain when you're in there, and it's really hard to determine what a good price is or not. And from my experience, not being Moroccan, not speaking Darija, is that you're kind of always gonna get kind of a bad price. You can go to the artisanal center of Marrakesh. It's just sort of very near Jemaa el Fnaa if you just walk down the street a little bit. It's a center that's sponsored by the city of Marrakesh. They invite artisans to offer their goods there. The prices are really good, very normal, and you don't have to haggle. It's just like fixed price. Makes your life really easy. The quality of goods is good, and you know you're getting a price that makes sense. So it's also just a very beautiful center, lots of tiles and nice ornate things. So definitely recommend that for sure. Last up, if you want to go for a night out, you want to go to a nice bar or restaurant, I would recommend hopping in a taxi and going to Guéliz, which is the newer part of the city. I found that the quality of the food, as well as just the generalized price of the food for the quality, is much better in Guéliz than it is in the Medina. The Medina, I found that a lot of the restaurants are overpriced, and honestly the quality of basic dishes was just not up to standard. You could basically go to the other part of the city, because Guéliz is filled with both tourists and locals and expats, and so that they're making a product that people are going to go to again and again, rather than tourists who just stumble into a cafe in the city center. It doesn't really matter other than the ratings that they find on Google. There are many good food streets, really good seafood restaurants, good cafes, all that stuff that's new that you can find in Guéliz. So if you want to eat, Guéliz is definitely the place. There's a lot of interesting street food things you can find in the Medina. One of the places that I really liked was Clock Cafe. I have a friend that worked there. It's very nice, kind of like trendy. It's in the Casbah. I would recommend going there. But other than that, if you really want to go to a good Moroccan restaurant, go to Guéliz. All right, my friends, I think that's going to do it for me in this video. Thanks so much for watching. Marrakesh is a city with so much history. It's got really good bones, and it's also got so much that's off the tourist path, but you just got to finesse your trip a little bit to discover it. That being said, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments. If you want to book a one-on-one call with me to plan a trip to Marrakesh, you can hit me by email or on my Instagram @tastefromtheroad. If not, a like and a subscribe would be great, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one. B'sacha.